At 2 a.m., the woman woke up to strange noises in the yard. She stepped out in her pajamas but found nothing. Suddenly, the bedroom light turned on, and the curtains revealed the silhouette of her husband embracing an unfamiliar woman. As she stood puzzled, a figure dashed past her from behind. Turning around, she thought it looked like her son, Harry. She quickly ran after him, only to find her son walking into the neighbor's dark backyard. As she called her son's name, he turned his head like a puppet, his neck twisting at an unnatural angle. The woman followed her son into the bushes, only to find herself on a deserted street. The shops on both sides were brightly lit, but there wasn't a soul in sight. Hundreds of bodies suddenly appeared on the street, only to vanish in an instant. The woman kept walking and noticed the seawater rising above her ankles, as if she had stepped into a vast ocean. The floating houses were bumping into each other under the moonlight. Nancy shot up from her sweat-soaked sheets. This was the third time this month she'd had this creepy nightmare. Nancy lives in Holland, a small town in Michigan, USA. Everything here is flawless. Friendly neighbors, tulips, and windmills make life in Holland town almost too perfect. Her husband Fred is a respected ENT specialist and church deacon. The tulip-surrounded community always smells like freshly baked apple pie. As she looked around at the blooming tulips and the slowly turning windmills, it felt like she'd stepped into a fairy tale. Before moving here, she was scared and confused. She could not trust anyone, not even herself. Eventually, Nancy followed Fred and moved here. After getting married, they had a son named Harry, and life was peaceful and happy. Even now, she sometimes still wonders if it was all real. That day, Nancy searched through her jewelry box but couldn't find her pearl earrings anywhere, so she started to suspect the young nanny at home. After being questioned, the nanny admitted that she had secretly eaten some of the snacks at home. Nancy kept dropping hints about the earrings, but the nanny played dumb every time. Nancy was so pissed she fired him on the spot. Seeing this, the son scolded his mom, saying the nanny just ate a little food. After arguing, Harry called his dad to vent. He feel like his mom's been acting a bit unreasonable lately. Fred got home from work and told his wife he's heading to the nearby German town for a business trip next week, just for one night. He also suggested she keep looking for the lost earring, it might turn up soon. Nancy teaches at the local middle school in town. She often vent about little things to my coworker Matt. Last night, her husband seemed distracted, clearly thinking she was making up stories just to play detective. But Matt disagreed. If the nanny was the one who took it, why did she only steal one earring? As night falls, Harry went out to hang with his friends, while Nancy stayed home alone. Idly flipped through TV channels, missing her husband. She called his hotel, but after being transferred, no one picked up. To ease her worries, she decided to keep busy. The missing pearl earring was still bugging her, so she searched the bedroom and living room. She searched every nook and cranny of the kitchen, but still came up empty-handed. Finally, her gaze landed on her husband's workshop. Pushing open the door, she saw the wooden model train tracks winding across the table. It was something her husband and son had built together. Nancy crouched down and spotted two unassuming metal boxes tucked under the table. Open the box lid. Inside, there are neatly stacked packs of brand new instant film. The thing is, we don't even have a Polaroid at home. The next day, Fred came back from his business trip. While unpacking his clothes, Nancy found a parking ticket in his pants pocket. The address wasn't the German town he mentioned, but a different city. Strangely enough, he actually brought back pastries and sausages typical of a German town. Doubts clung to her like vines. The next day, she opened up to her colleague Matt at school, sharing her suspicions that her husband might be hiding something, possibly even an affair. What really freaked her out was the purpose of those Polaroid films. Nancy had always seen Fred as her savior, the one who got her out of that dead-end town. He gave her a whole new life, but now she's starting to question the secrets hidden behind this marriage. Over the next few days, she was totally distracted and all over the place. That night, Fred casually mentioned he'd be out of town for 3 days next week for work. Nancy immediately tensed up and gave him the cold shoulder all evening, refusing to talk. Late at night, her husband's snoring filled the bedroom, but she couldn't sleep, tossing and turning. She quietly got up and snuck back into the tool room, carefully checking the metal boxes. This time, she noticed the shipping label on the bottom. The delivery address was clearly Fred's clinic. The next day, she asked Matt for help. Since the Polaroids weren't at home, they must be locked in her husband's clinic office. She needed Matt to pose as a patient, go in for a checkup, and tamper with the bathroom window lock so it wouldn't fully close. When she got back, Nancy casually told her husband, tomorrow night, she is heading to the next town with her bestie for some shopping. Matt is pretending to be sick to visit the clinic. After the inspection, he sneaked into the bathroom and fiddled with the window lock. Suddenly, a loud knock made him jump, and he dropped the tool out the window. In a panic, he had to tear off a few pieces of toilet paper to jam the lock. The door opened, and a cop was standing there. Matt's heart skipped a beat, but he kept his cool and bolted. Matt had only taken a few steps when the cops suddenly came after him. He thought he'd been caught and was ready to give up. Turned out to be a false alarm. Matt was in a cold sweat after the scare, but it turned out the person was just returning the jacket he'd left in the restroom. But when Nancy found him again, she hoped he'll join her tonight when she sneaks into the clinic, but he instinctively wants to say no. But when he saw the earnest look in her eyes and heard her soft plea, he finally gave in and nodded. Late at night, the two quietly approached the clinic. Nancy stepped on Matt's shoulders to climb through the bathroom window. Matt stayed in the car to keep watch. After entering her husband's office, Nancy started looking for places where photos might be hidden. She finally spotted a hidden safe behind the wall. As she tried using her husband's usual password to unlock it, she had no idea Fred got an urgent call about a patient having an allergic reaction to eye drops. Soon, Matt, who was on lookout, spotted two cars pulling up at the clinic one after the other. Out stepped Fred, from one of the cars. He tried to call Nancy in a hurry, but her phone was unreachable. Meanwhile, Nancy had already managed to open the safe and found several credit cards inside. With a Polaroid album and some bank cards, she was shocked. Quickly noting the card numbers, she flipped through the album. Instead of private photos, she saw pictures of different women outside houses, each labeled with a name and city. Nancy couldn't believe her eyes. Was her husband keeping mistresses? Just then, her phone buzzed. Matt warned her Fred had entered the clinic. Panicking, Nancy quickly put things back in place. Hearing her husband's voice in the hallway, she couldn't go back the way she came. She had to pin her hopes on the office skylight. Luckily, Fred was checking patients in the outer room, buying her crucial time to escape. But as she climbed, Fred still caught the strange noise from the office. When he pushed the door open, Nancy had already escaped through the window, leaving behind just a faint trace that made him think it might have been his imagination. Nancy and Matt sped away in their car, their hearts still racing from the close call at the clinic. Nancy made up her mind. If Fred's gonna play dirty, she's not gonna hold back. She went to Matt's place and took off her clothes willingly. Matt hesitated but couldn't resist her passion. Just as things heated up, a loud crash of breaking glass shattered the mood. Matt recognized the car outside that had been bugging him repeatedly. As a Mexican-American, he's been dealing with constant racism from a group of white kids. He used to just put up with it. He burst out in uncontrollable rage and started fighting with the other guy. When he returned with the scars of victory, Nancy looked at him with admiration, thinking he was so manly. But after calming down, Matt spoke solemnly. If she really wants to be with him, she'll have to end the marriage first. He would never be the one to ruin someone else's family happiness. What Nancy didn't know was that after Fred saw off the patient and returned to his office, a familiar bracelet was lying quietly on the carpet under the window. The next day, Nancy called her husband's credit card company. She found out the latest purchase was a jewelry necklace, which she thought was a gift for his mistress. Furious, she noticed something shiny hidden in a button jar on the table. That's the pearl earring she's been searching for all along. Turns out she was wrong to blame the nanny. She walked into her bedroom and spotted a beautifully wrapped gift box sitting right in the middle of the bed. Inside was the jewelry necklace. Fred admitted he'd checked with his close friends, who confirmed they didn't go out last night. He also found Nancy's earring left behind in the office. The couple exchanged a knowing glance, each harboring their own secrets. Fred decided to let go of the past and focus on the present. Nancy vowed to be a good wife and keep their family strong. On the surface, it seems like life has gone back to normal for both of them. But when the night gets quiet, Matt's presence lingered in Nancy's mind, stirring her restless heart. Finally, she couldn't hold back anymore and called Matt. She couldn't keep living like this, feeling like she was suffocating every day. She's leaving Fred, and Matt calmly reminds her that this conservative town won't stand for such a scandal, especially since Fred's a church deacon. She might even lose custody of her son. As Nancy sobbed softly, Matt had a sudden idea. Fred was going on a 3-day business trip. He could tail him and use a camera to catch him cheating. With this leverage, they can control the situation. Fred will have to agree to any terms. This thrilling plan has Nancy pumped. She decided to join the cheating expose mission myself. On the day of Fred's business trip, Nancy dropped him off at the station, left the kids with the babysitter, and met up with Matt in disguise. Together, they headed to Fred's hotel. As night fell, Fred was drinking alone at the bar while Nancy snuck into his room. Meanwhile, Matt kept watch outside the bar. Didn't expect Fred's luggage to have a pair of handcuffs in it. She quickly snapped a photo of the creepy evidence, but got totally confused as she kept digging around. The bag had men's underwear and a big pack of dog food. These random items left her totally baffled. Matt warned her, so she made a quick exit before Fred got back. In the parking lot, Nancy showed Matt the photos she took, convinced Fred was a total creep with some weird fetish. They hugged tightly, dreaming of a bright future ahead. The next morning, Nancy was ready to head back, but Matt thought the evidence wasn't solid enough. He wanted to be together openly and honestly. They need solid photo proof that Fred can't deny. So Nancy headed home first, while Matt kept an eye on things. Nancy remembered the photos of women in the safe, each labeled with names and cities. She started looking up contacts in the phone book. but every call brought bad news. These women had vanished in recent years, some confirmed dead. A chilling thought crossed her mind. In her husband's workshop, she found parking tickets with matching zip codes from the crime scenes and corresponding house models. At the same time, Matt trailed Fred to a suburban house, where the lady warmly let him in. He thought he finally had proof of an affair, but the lady had several puppies. That's probably why Fred brought dog food. Hearing Fred's heavy breathing from the bedroom, Matt crept closer, trying to snap a shot through the crack in the door. Suddenly, a dog darted into the room. In his panic, he didn't see the steamy scene he expected. Instead, Fred was there, holding a knife, slitting the woman's throat. Fred spotted Matt through the mirror, dropped the knife, and rushed at him. He was knocked out of the house by Fred. Matt had totally forgotten why he came here. All he wanted now was to get out alive. The guy had thrown him out of the house. When Fred got up, he realized a knife was stuck in his side. Matt panicked and fled to the lake, trying to escape by boat, but Fred caught up from behind. Matt saw the knife sticking out of his stomach. He pulled it out by mistake as a weapon of self-defense. Fred's wound gushed blood, and he quickly passed out, falling into the lake. Matt never expected that catching someone cheating would accidentally lead to a murder. After burning his clothes, he drove back to Holland town. Nancy frantically told Matt about her discovery. Her husband might be a serial killer targeting young women. Matt didn't want her to know he'd killed her husband. He lied and said Fred was cheating, showed him the evidence, and told him to disappear forever or he'd spill the beans. Then he just left without a word. Matt wants Nancy to run away with him and their son, but she's scared of raising suspicion. She plans to wait until after the Tulip Festival to make a move. At the Tulip Festival, Nancy spotted Fred in the crowd. She quickly went to find Matt, and he was freaked out when he heard it. They quickly took Nancy and her son back home. Under Nancy's pressure, Matt finally came clean. He did it to protect her. Fred didn't hurt me. Nancy suddenly realized her son Harry was missing. She rushed outside and spotted him not far away. Fred stood by his son, explaining that he'd always protected them from his darker side. The man who did those things wasn't the real him. The true Fred was the one living in Holland town with his family. This situation might actually be a good thing. They're all in the same boat and being honest with each other. On her way home, Nancy grew more terrified. She couldn't bear the thought of living with her husband, a serial killer, alongside their son. So she pulled out the hidden gun from her bag and forced Fred to let them go. Just as their son Harry ran out of the car and Nancy was about to follow, Fred lunged at her. A gunshot rang out inside the car. Worried about his mom, Harry ran back. Nancy snapped back to reality, covered in blood. A bullet had grazed Fred's cheek. His face twisted in rage, and he grabbed Nancy by the neck, shoving her into the seat. Harry flung the car door open, desperate to save his mom, but Fred shoved him aside. Seeing her son hit, Nancy snapped. She grabbed her fallen high heel and rained blows down on her husband's head. In no time, Fred's face was a mess, but when she got back to Matt's place, the guy had vanished without a trace.